Hello everyone, my name is Vikas Agrawal and I am the founder of AIF and PMS Experts India. So, AIF is nothing but alternate investment funds and PMS is your portfolio management services. So, we are one of the largest platform for investing in AIFs and PMSs. What we are witnessing of late in last few years is that AIF industry is shaping up very well. In fact, the total size of asset under management has gone up to in the tune of 6 lakhs crores. I remember when I entered the mutual fund industry 20 years back, the total size of the mutual fund industry used to be less than 1 lakh crores. And the way alternate investment funds are shaping up in India, that clearly indicates that there are a lot of HNIs or ultra HNIs, those who can afford to take some amount of calculated risk. I mean, they've really grown by taking those risks in their life. Or maybe some of the mid-sized family offices, they are taking good amount of interest in alternate investment funds and more particularly in the fixed income side. Knowing the fact that India as an economy and we as an Indian, we are always conservative, and for us and for those who have really grown in terms of their total net worth, I think the priority is to protect the wealth first and then create and go about creating wealth. So therefore we are witnessing huge amount of inflow coming in the AIF category too. Which is fixed income products. So, that at AIF and PMS Experts India, we keep organizing these knowledge-based sessions. So, this time we have invited fund manager from Vivriti Asset Management. So, with me I have Mr. Irfan. Well, last time some of you who watch our show would have seen that I have invited him last time, and we did a very wonderful show on that fixed income products. But since he was in Pune, we thought of utilizing the opportunity. So first of all, Irfan, thank you so much for accepting our request and taking the time out from your busy schedule, coming all the way from Bombay to Pune and agreed to record the session for our investors.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So Irfan, just to introduce him, he brings about more than 1.5 decades of rich experience when it comes to investing, more particularly on the fixed income side. So he's an engineer, studied from IIM Bangalore. Went on to work with large organization like Birla Asset Management, which is one of the largest in fixed income space, sharpen his skill set, knowledge out there, built up a good track record while managing the funds, and then decided to do something on the alternate investment fund side, and here he is. So my first question is, so what made you to move from mutual fund industry to something which is picking up, is not completely picked up?
Right. So, because in mutual funds also, I was largely doing credit there. So what happened was that over time, we saw that mutual funds as an industry were not taking incremental large amount of credit exposures after the IL&FS crisis.
Sure.
And also wholesale NBFCs also were not taking large amount of exposure in terms of wholesale credit risk also. So there was this wide space that had developed after that, which needed to be addressed, and that's when AIFs were kind of booming. And since I love doing credit, I moved on to the platform, AIF platform.
Great. If you ask me, I have a lot of questions and I have prepared a note also. But before I go to those questions, couple of quick questions from my side as well. So first is, so can you talk to us about Vivriti Capital? Can you talk to us about, because you've been instrumental in terms of defining the complete investment philosophy, I would say, when it comes to investing in fixed income instruments at Vivriti. So can you talk to us about your company and your role typically? And then I'll come to the second question, how investor can take the benefit.
Sure. So Vivriti AMC is part of the Vivriti Group, and Vivriti Group is a specialized fixed income investor in India. It's one of the largest. So we have been in this business for more than a decade or so, all our promoters and the key investment team. And today we have invested more than 14,000 crores completely in fixed income investments. So for us, fixed income is not another asset class, it is the only asset class where we play in, and we operate in two vehicles. One is Vivriti Capital, which Vikas mentioned, it's our wholesale NBFC, and the second is the Vivriti AMC, which is the fund part of the business.
Yeah.
Fund management part of the business, where I'm the fund manager for the open end for the schemes that we are running there. So that's a bit about Vivriti group overall.
So what is the bifurcation between this? So what is the AUM of the capital and the asset management?
So currently we are at 2,500 crores on the AMC side and about 5,500 crores on the NBFC side. So put together we are about 8,000 odd crores of AUM currently.
So can you talk to our investor and tell them more about your fixed income approach and this AIF category too? So how can they take the maximum benefit? Because I see a lot of difference between a fixed income mutual fund and fixed income AIFs. So it is absolutely in layman term, I would say, for our investor benefit of it.
Right. So जब फिक्स्ड इनकम में आप इन्वेस्ट करते हो, देयर आर 3 रिस्क्स दैट पीपल मैनेज, जो हमारी तरह म्यूचुअल फंड मैनेजर्स और फिक्स्ड इनकम मैनेजर्स करते हैं जी. पहला वाला है ड्यूरेशन रिस्क. तो ड्यूरेशन रिस्क सिंपल होता है कि जब इंटरेस्ट रेट ऊपर जाते हैं तो बॉन्ड का प्राइस कम होता है एंड वाइस वर्सा. दिस इज द फर्स्ट रिस्क. सेकेंड रिस्क इज लिक्विडिटी रिस्क. जब आप रिडेम्पशन रिक्वेस्ट डालोगे म्यूचुअल फंड में, दे वुड हैव टू सेल सम ऑफ देयर बॉन्ड्स एंड गिव यू बैक दैट मनी. सो दैट इज liquidity risk. And third is credit risk. जहाँ पे when you lend the risk of that money not coming back.
Chances of default.
तो 3 रिस्क हैं. इसमें से तीनों रिस्क म्यूचुअल फंड में मैनेज करना पड़ता है क्योंकि ओपन एंडेड है और आपके मार्क टू मार्केट वैल्यूएशन रोज चेंज होते रहते हैं. जैसे ऊपर नीचे जैसे जाता है, योर पोर्टफोलियो
रिडेम्पशन आया तो आपको पैसा
वापस करना पड़ता है. और तीसरा, इफ देयर इज अ डिफॉल्ट यू हैव टू अज्यूम द क्रेडिट रिस्क एंड लॉस. AIF में पहला 2 रिस्क नहीं मैनेज करना पड़ता है, which is your duration and your liquidity.
Liquidity and duration.
These 2 risks are not there in an AIF fund because it is close ended. जब आप आते हो, आप पहले ही बोल दिए कि if it's a 3-year fund, I'm going to stay invested for 3 years. 4-year fund, I'm going to stay invested for 4 years. No redemption in the middle. This is point 1.
Great.
And because of that, I don't have to provide liquidity.
Sure.
And the third bit is credit risk, and that is the only risk that needs to be managed.
Which you need to manage.
Which I need to manage, and we are proven over the last decade or so that we are able to manage that fairly well.
Yeah. So can I say that when I see the difference in terms of returns, well, returns are subject to market risk. Always it's a function of the markets. But when I see the past performance, I see huge amount of gap between what fixed income mutual funds are offering and what AIFs are. Can I say that just because money is locked, just because the liquidity doesn't have to be managed, you are able to ideate, think through and generate slightly additional alpha? Or anything else? Please speak to our investor and tell us.
Right. There are 2-3 parts to this. The first part is, like you rightly said, when it's a close-ended fund, I don't need to manage how much cash I'm going to carry. In a credit mutual fund, what I need to do is, when there is a little bit of a issue in the markets, I need to run 15%, 20% cash. When there is markets are doing very well, then I'll run 10% or 5% cash. But if I get that call wrong, then I'll have to sell all those other bonds in discount in the market. So that is one big difference.
Right.
The second part is that because it is marketed to sophisticated investors such as the ones watching the show, they would know exactly what kind of risk that is there in the product. I will be able to tell them, like for example, the funds that we invest in are all in operating companies with proven business models and cash flows. So the investors know what they are investing in. But in a mutual fund, anybody can invest in. So I'll have to cater to the most risk averse investor also.
Correct.
And the one who is the most uninformed. जो कभी भी पैसे निकाल सकता है. So these are the
and उसमें retail money भी होता है.
Retail money, exactly. So the retail money would not really understand, जो मैं simple से आपसे समझा रहा हूँ, duration, credit and liquidity. These concepts are not easy for a retail person to understand. Only those who have had some investment experience, have a certain amount of net worth, they would understand these concepts in general.
Sure. So what is the size of the overall fixed income AIF industry size? And second, what kind of investors that you are looking at when you are running this fund who are onboarding here?
Right. So AIF on the fixed income side, they have grown by a large amount. So if you see, in terms of numbers, category 2 is like more than 2 lakh crores. But the point is where we are, what we like to call performing credit investing, which is extremely high quality, safe companies to invest in. These companies and the money chasing them is somewhere in the range of 15 to 20,000 crores only.
Okay. So 15-20,000 is not a small number. In fact, so you're witnessing these family offices coming, or some HNIs, ultra HNI clients are also taking enough into?
Ultra HNIs, family offices, insurance companies, bank treasuries, corporate treasuries, a whole host of people have taken interest here. So if you look at our investor base, we have more than 400 unique investors in our funds as of now, which comprise from the largest investors in the country, the largest bank in the country, to just an HNI who has a net worth of just a couple of crores, also invested more than a crore with us.
Right. No, see, what I am really happy about is that the way it is shaping up, because I see good amount of interest taken by these investors. They come to us, they reach out to us through our platform. They talk to us and they tell us that they've already invested good amount of money in fixed deposits, and they keep on looking out for some kind of alternatives. And I would say that even if it is 1% or 2% of gap, in the long run, it creates good amount of alpha. So obviously it has a lot of aspects.
And I'll add a very good anecdote here. Generally, this is just how markets have played out. So last 10 years, equity markets, index fund, CAGR कितना रहा है आपके हिसाब से? Equity, Nifty
12%.
We have our weighted average returns have been 14% for the last 10 years.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
Fixed income, debt. तो market में opportunities हैं, बस उसको ढूंढना पड़ेगा. So in a debt product, you are able to meet on a long-term basis gross returns higher than what the equity market can offer. It just means that, it does not mean that we have taken very, very large undue risk. See, the amount of credit demand in India means that there is enough and more opportunities for money managers such as ourselves to find these credit opportunities and invest in them. So the industry is only going to grow much larger. It is where MFs were 20 years back.
Right. But on a lighter note, very interesting thing which has come to my mind is that when I have a pack of whiskey, I know that it's going to give me kick. Okay, and this is, I'm talking about ILNFS fiasco. But when I have coffee, I don't expect that to give me kick.
Right.
Now what happened is, during the ILNFS crisis, a lot of people have burned their fingers.
Absolutely.
So what do you have to say about, because your CAGR is about 14%, which is higher than equity. So it's like it's giving you additional kicker. So how do you justify that? Do you take enough measures in terms of ensuring that investors do not get this overnight accident? Because in fixed income, once the money is gone, it is gone forever, unlike equity market, which is likely to come back.
Right. दो तरह से मैं आंसर दे सकता हूँ. पहली बात, that the ILFS and the crisis which happened, most of the returns, the losses happened due to AAA companies defaulting, including ILFS, right?
Well said.
उस सब का भोज BBB को लेना पड़ा और A को लेना पड़ा. But if you look at them, they are extremely strong companies there, which never had to, which never had any issues in their performance of the last 10, 15, 20 years. So the first point is ILFS is a AAA miss which has happened. The second point which I wanted to say is that when you are investing in equity, जैसे Bajaj Finance में आपने पैसा लगाया, if you had invested in nothing and put all your money in Bajaj Finance, you would have beat every mutual fund manager out there today if you did that 10 years ago. कुछ करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, because there is a chance in equity for it to become a multi-bagger, 100 time, 500. In debt, it is not like that. Upside is 10, 12, 14, 15%, downside is 100%.
Correct.
So in debt, there is no joy in having concentrated portfolio. So we are one of the few, if not the only asset managers which believe in diversifying our debt portfolios to a large extent. क्योंकि upside है नहीं, downside पूरा है. So our portfolios, like the ones we run, are the most diversified portfolios in the country today.
So for the benefit of our investors, before we come to a lot of questions that I said that I prepared for you, and today I thought I'll utilize your time to maximum possible way. अब बताइए कि कैसे आप ये एडिशनल अल्फा का, कैसे आप 13-14% की मशीन चला रहे हैं, और ऐसा नहीं एक साल ही हुआ है, पिछले कई सालों से आप रिटर्न दे रहे हैं. तो थोड़ा सा आप अंदर जाके आप डीपली थोड़ा सा इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए कि उनको बार बार ये डर लगता है कि इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्क है बिकॉज इट इज़ गिविंग 14%. दिस इज द परसेप्शन इन द मार्केट. मिथ बोल लो, परसेप्शन बोल लो. नाउ हाउ डू यू एजुकेट देम?
अब ऐसा है कि अगेन आई विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द ILFS एग्जांपल. ILFS was raising money 7.5, 8.5% in 2018. One day, one mutual fund sold its paper at 11 to 12% CP in the market. That started its downfall. Now, a 7 or an 8% company suddenly yielding at 11 to 12% will raise eyebrows, and if it's a large enough company, can bring the whole market down. So, when I'm saying at 14%, you'll have to understand where I start this risk. I am not going to a 7 या 8% वाला कंपनी जिसमें सडनली प्रॉब्लम आ गया और वो अभी 14% में पैसा चाहिए. दैट इज़ नॉट वेयर आई इन्वेस्ट. आई इन्वेस्ट इन स्मॉल एंड मीडियम कॉर्पोरेट्स जिनकी यूजुअल बोरोइंग 10 या 11% में होता है. 10 या 11% के बोरोइंग में वो बैंक से उनके पास पैसा आता है. नाउ दे कुड बी सम इश्यूज इन getting that finance. For example, PSU banks, some of them enhance lines only once every 6 months. If the growth of the company is such that he needs money within that time, तो उसको मार्च तक या सितंबर तक वेट करना पड़ेगा for the consortium to come again and तो if I'm able to, I have some opportunity there. For that, I'll be getting 200-250 bips extra. So that is one use. The other use is when he is going to do a brownfield expansion. जैसे हॉस्पिटल है, हॉस्पिटल में और 50 बेड लगाना है additional. Now he will not be having ready collateral to give to the bank upfront.
Right.
But I know कि basis the hospital's cash flow उसको पैसे दे सकते हैं. So I will take that call where I can get a little bit additional. Now this is very very different from me saying कि मैं लैंड के अगेंस्ट आपको फंडिंग देता हूँ, मैं रियल एस्टेट कर रहा हूँ फंडिंग, या मैं वेंचर डेट की तरह स्टार्टअप में फाइनेंस कर रहा हूँ. ये सब हम नहीं कर रहे हैं. वी आर लुकिंग. So most of our companies that we see are high quality companies which are bank funded.
Right.
So where we don't have to have a risk of business model or operating cash flows. तो आज हमारे पोर्टफोलियो में
बेसिक फिल्टर आपने लगा रखा है कि भाई ये
आज हमारे पोर्टफोलियो में 100% of companies are bank funded. No other portfolio in the country in the performing credit space is having that. 100% are bank funded, 100% are externally credit rated. So जो मैं कर रहा हूँ पूरी दुनिया को पता है. There is nothing which I am doing which is, or our fund is doing which is in secret.
So कौन रेटिंग करता है इन कंपनीज को अलग अलग? You have companies from pharma industry, you have companies from finance industry. NBFCs के लिए तो easy है, बहुत जल्दी रेटिंग हो जाती है.
So ऐसे भी कई बार हो चुका है जिसमें कंपनी की खुद की रेटिंग नहीं है. जैसे एक कंपनी हमने रिसेंटली फंड किया जिसमें there is only ICICI bank as the only lender.
Right.
And that company had no rating क्योंकि उसको ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ी. तो हमने क्या किया, we got the company rated. We took the company to a rating agency. We told them get your bond rated. So that because we are always saying that हम जो सोचे सही वो ठीक है, but let a third person also opine. Because debt में the idea is no accident. So conviction call एक होता है, but you have to be also smart about it that what do you think विकास जी, what do you think person ABC. उसके बाद वो debt में invest करना है.
आपका due diligence बहुत strong है.
मेरा due diligence खुद का करके I am very comfortable. उसके बाद I make sure somebody else also looks at it which a totally neutral opinion.
Right.
That's why 100% of our bonds are rated.
Correct. So the other thing is, what I was thinking is that AIF commitments have grown almost by 50%. If you look at the last 5 years. So what do you think that led this to this kind of migration?
So one is the credit demand. So if you look at the growth in India and if you look at RBI's bank credit growth data, the incremental credit to deposit ratio, which means for every 100 rupees that you collect as deposit, how much are you lending? The bank demand. That demand has been the highest over the last 2-3 years now, right? Currently, which means the demand for credit is going up and up every day. So because of that demand, there is more money which is chasing this opportunity. ये पहला reason है. Second reason is because MF में नहीं invest करें, जो मैंने आपको पहले बताया था. Because of that money is now being allocated to AIFs. Third point is people who actively want to diversify from their equity allocation.
Yes, which is a part of their strategic allocation.
Absolutely. क्योंकि अब मैं 100 रुपया what people think is that if I'm investing 40% in fixed income and 60% equity, 40% मैं बैंक FD में डाल दूंगा, 60% equity में डाल दूंगा. That is suboptimal. जो 40% आपका fixed income है, उसमें you would have to play between liquid fund, fixed deposit, other MF categories, and then there is a sleeve of 10% which you can give for alternates.
Right.
तो वो पैसा भी आ रहा है अभी.
Absolutely, that is what we as like platform or boutique wealth management outfits, we also prefer to design the portfolio in a manner where there would be some portion which would be not only higher than fixed income, closer to Nifty benchmark. You know, while your returns are the benchmark is higher than the benchmark at times, but our attempt is to see to it that the way we design the portfolio, some amount of strategic allocation should come to AIF like yours. So, but what happens to your product when interest rates are going up?
When interest rates go up, first, like I said, checking the concept, duration. जब इंटरेस्ट रेट ऊपर जाते हैं बॉन्ड के प्राइस गिरते हैं, राइट? ये क्लियर है. जब बॉन्ड के प्राइस गिरते हैं और आप म्यूचुअल फंड में होल्ड करते हो तो आपका मार्क टू मार्केट हो जाता है. आपका 100 रुपये का बॉन्ड 98 रुपीज़ हो जाता है. सो इफ यू गो एंड रिडीम यू विल गेट ओनली 98 रुपीज़. हियर बिकॉज इट्स क्लोज एंडेड you will not be exposed to that. If it is at 100 rupees, your NAV 100 will become 101, 102, 103 and it will continue. So there is no mark to market impact here. So when interest rates rise, there is no impact to the investor returns. Point 1. Point 2 is when I invest in companies, I will be able to pass on some of the rate hikes to the companies which I borrow, which will borrow from this fund. So if a company is borrowing at 12%, I will say that incrementally, because rates have gone up, 12.5 में. So that benefit will be passed on to investors. So जो benefit है वो optionality of upside is there with investors of getting a bit higher return, but the downside is protected.
Okay. So some of our investors, they wanted to know whether it's right time to look at investing in fixed income. There are a lot of things happening on the fixed income side. You have rates which are getting reviewed every quarter, and so what's your views on that?
Right. So there are two things which, if you ask me, generally move the world. One is interest rates and two is currency. These two are the most important levers which are not in our hands, which move the world. So isme now that rates are going up, the pace of hikes is what you need to see. जो इनिशियल पार्ट ऑफ द ईयर में जैसा हुआ था, वेयर एवरी टाइम दैट द हाइक्स हैव बीन 40-50 बिप्स, नाउ यू आर सीइंग दैट द पेस ऑफ हाइक्स विल नॉट बी एज हाई इज द मार्केट एक्सपेक्टेशन. सो नाउ देयर इज accelerated rate hikes, slower rate hikes. That is the market expectation.
Would it go flat? No.
Flat ke to, I mean, it's anybody's guess. But the way it depends on how US numbers react and so on. I'm not getting into that discussion. But बस ये तो मान सकते हैं कि pace of hike will not be the same accelerator. मतलब accelerator से थोड़ा सा हाथ, पैर उठा लिए. तो now is the time when lot of institutional global money is shifting to fixed income. So now is a time where you'll get very beautiful accrual. तो अब जो accrual बोलते हैं, जब accrual मतलब जो higher yielding investments आप करते हो and you earn money just by interest income. That is what is called accrual income.
Right.
So जब fixed income में आप duration gains बनाते हो, that is when interest rates are going to fall. That is the most famous form of gain. कि 8% में जब G-Sec था मैंने पैसा डाला है और अब 6.5 हो गया तो 1.5% का मैंने गेन लिया. ऑन अ 5-year बॉन्ड इट इज टिपिकली 1.5 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 5 का इतना गेन मुझे मिलेगा. दिस इज द यूजुअल return that people make. Accrual is just on interest income, just like how you are normally lending and getting money. That is what will be the investor allocation strategy now, because the interest rates are high.
Right. So suppose if I'm your client and I have decided to allocate a crore, I'm joining your fund. So what kind of transparency you bring on the table for me in terms of portfolio?
Right, that has been,
etc.
It's been a key thesis for us, Vikasji, that when investors come in, because people think this 13, 14, 15% is some wild west, we want to demystify that space. So today in the entire industry, we have the most transparent reporting, which means that every quarter investors get a 30, 40, 50 pager depending on the work that we do on portfolio monitoring for that quarter, which is a very, very bottoms up view of how each company is performed. And we are leading this in the whole industry in terms of bringing about this change in this industry. So in terms of any covenant breaches that have happened, any reasons, any equity raise the company has done, anything at all that we feel is important for the investor to know, we make sure that we communicate to them on a quarterly basis.
So suppose in case of any default takes place, so what happens to your fund? I mean, it happens, like it's a part of the game. I mean, nobody knew that companies which got defaulted in the year of 2018-19, in 2016 nobody would have ever thought about it, and they were all AAA rated. Keeping the rating aside, what happens to the portfolio? Suppose one of the portfolio goes one of the companies go bellies up.
Right, got it. So in most of our funds till date, what we do is that we say that we will fund a loss protection tranche. What that means is that if, for example, the investor puts in 90 rupees, we put in 10 rupees for every 100 rupees, and our 10 rupees is फर्स्ट लॉस डिफॉल्ट गारंटी, विच मीन्स अगर कुछ डिफॉल्ट होता है, पहला 10 रुपया का जो लॉस होगा वो मैं ले लूंगा.
Okay.
And only from the 11th rupee onwards, even if there is a loss, they will be passed on to the investor. So me, as a franchise, I am putting my neck on the line and putting my capital ahead.
You know, in case of a downside. Skin in the game.
So there is, most people say skin in the game is आप 100 रुपये लगाओगे तो मैं 10 रुपये लगाऊंगा. I'm saying I'm taking that one step further. 100 रुपये लगाऊंगा and my 100 रुपये is subordinated to you. तो अगर लॉस होगा तो पहला आपका हो मेरा होगा. Exactly. उसके बाद आपका हो सकता है. And over the last during the period our group has been doing this, we have lost only 0.11%. Over the whole ILFS crisis, over all the risks that has happened, only 0.11%, which is how we've been able to return about 14% because we've had no losses. The reason is हमारा बहुत diversified portfolio, Vikas ji. At a group level, we have invested in more than 300 companies. Our group exposure has never gone beyond 0.5% for a single name. तो कुछ problem भी हो जाएगा ना, the loss will be very limited. Same point I mentioned earlier, that the idea is to diversify क्योंकि upside is limited, so why not diversify?
Right. So इसमें कोई rating system है? I mean, how many AIF funds are rated in the industry?
So ये भी हमने पहले we are a bit of a pioneer there because the in terms of rating a fund in AIF, nobody had done it till we started doing this. So there are 11 funds which are rated.
Okay.
Out of which 6 are Vivriti's funds.
Oh, wonderful.
So we are what we are trying to say is, again, in terms of being transparency.
Who is doing this rating? Who is the agency?
So we have CRISIL, and we have which are rated most of our funds, and one fund is being rated by ICRA.
Okay. So CRISIL is doing a lot of work on the alternate side.
Absolutely. So the idea is you are co-creating the market, right? So CRISIL and ICRA also want the market to grow, and we are also wanting to bring this transparency and more public faith into the system.
Right.
That it's not as you can do whatever you want actually. You can do real estate, you can do promoter finance, you can do anything that you want actually in this vehicle. Regulator doesn't stop you.
Absolutely.
But we are saying that हम ये नहीं करेंगे.
So आपको flexibility है, but you are very clear what you don't want to do.
और class monitor बिठा दिया.
Amazing. Great. So ये बताइए, see what is happening is we are also witnessing a good number of NRI investors, NR especially non-residential. They are reaching out to us. And they are talking to us. So can they participate in your fund? Can they take this advantage?
Absolutely. So we have NRIs who can come in the INR vehicle. So of course you can do this. We also are one of the first funds who have launched a gift feeder fund. So investors can directly come in through gift, through a dollar vehicle, and invest in our funds through gift itself. So NRI investors can definitely invest in our funds. We already have a couple of them.
Sure. So I basically just wanted to know, because these are questions that I keep getting from my investors. So So I thought I'll ask you. So minimum threshold defined by SEBI is 1 crore. So there is absolutely no scope that you will take anything less than a crore, right?
There is.
How?
There is something called accredited investors. So an accredited investor, you'll have to fulfill certain norms, which the most famous is that your annual income has to be more than 2 crores.
Right.
You have to show in some form and manner that you're a sophisticated investor. See, the whole idea of regulator.
Okay. So, as per the SEBI guidelines, in category 2, the minimum threshold of investment is 1 crore. So, is there a possibility that you will take less than 1 crore if somebody wants to participate?
Yes, so SEBI has come up with what they call as accredited investor. So when someone is an accredited investor, they have to fulfill certain list of norms put by SEBI. Most important norm being that the income has to be more than 2 crores, and you'll have to show that you're a sophisticated investor. Then you can invest much smaller ticket sizes. You can invest 25 lakhs also, starting from 25 lakhs.
So it's going to be in dollar?
No, it's in rupees.
Okay, yeah. Very nice. And just about lock-in that I want to understand. So say I commit 1 crore. So can you talk to us about whether this money is locked for next 3 years? Because you initially talked about that it has to get locked. So what are the terms and conditions there?
So different products we run. So today we run 7 funds in our in Vivriti AMC. Each one has a different construct catering to a different need for the investor. So for example, there are funds which say that you invest for 3 years, and from 2.5 years onwards we will start returning capital to you, which means आपका जो return plus principal का है, that will start coming from 20-30 months onwards.
In tranches.
In tranches. As and when the bonds kind of mature, we'll repay. That is one. The other funds that we have are the ones which are regular income paying. So where we make a quarterly coupon payout of about 10%. So the fund might be returning 14-15%. जिसमें से 9-10% you will get on a quarterly coupon basis, and the remainder you will get along with your principal towards the end. So basically, because there are some people who are retirees, who like to have regular income, quarterly coupon chahiye. So for that there is a separate product. So we have products to meet all kinds of cash flow needs.
Okay. So what is the real value add, I would say, between debt AIF versus mutual fund AIF, fixed income products?
Right. So it's a trade-off. I am trading as an investor. You are saying that I know for sure that I don't need this money broadly for 4 years. Can I invest in if I make the decision, can I invest in a 3-year product? Then AIF is right for you. Because you've taken the decision that I don't need money for X time.
Right.
उसका एक buffer लगा के आप invest कर सकते हो. That is, if you ask, because then you'll be able to choose what risk you want to take. In a mutual fund, what happens is that you are overpaying for liquidity. Because you want to be able to withdraw the money every day.
Right.
FD में भी आप रोज नहीं withdraw कर सकते हो.
But वहाँ भी lock करते हैं.
So it's exactly. So it's not that debt mutual funds are bad.
Right.
If you don't know कब आपको पैसे चाहिए, then debt mutual fund, liquid fund is where you need to invest.
Right.
But if you know कि मेरे पास X crores हैं, उसमें से मुझे Y नहीं चाहिए 4 साल के लिए, फिर Y को उठा के AIF में पार्क कर दीजिए. तो X minus Y है, उसको आप म्यूचुअल फंड में डाल दीजिए. That's the prudent way to go about it.
So is there a timeline for investors, like in terms of subscription, that this fund is, you mentioned that there are 7 funds, so this fund is open for this much time only. How is it?
So जैसे हमारा 7 फंड है, 7 में से 4 are already closed. So there are 3 which are live for subscription.
Already closed, as in we've
raised all the funds, we have invested, and they are closed for subscription.
Right.
So 3 funds are now live for subscription.
Sure.
With different mandates. So investors can choose. We are looking to close them over the next quarter or so. So depending on their risk profile, they can choose.
Sure. Have you started giving money back to investors from any of these 4 funds?
Yes, all of them. So we have returned more than 45% of capital that we have raised in terms of coupons.
Apart from coupons at the regular interval which you are giving back?
We are not giving back the principal yet, because our funds have not closed, and we've not. The fund life has not ended, so we've not returned the principal.
Okay.
But all I mean is that the coupon which is reinvested, I mean the coupon which is returned and the principal which is reinvested, if you add that, that is about 45% of our capital.
Right. The other interesting thing happening in AIF industry particularly is that there was a time when you have to do a lot of documentation, etc., and a bunch of forms and all that would reach out to, and some old age investors were scared of giving so many signatures. And thanks to digitalization, it's shaping up. Regulatory is also understanding the requirement. But what is the way, like in your case, if somebody wants to onboard, how is the documentation takes place?
Right, so we've come a long way about this. So you're right. So initially it used to be a lot of paperwork and so on, but we've digitized the whole process. So now it's completely digital onboarding, where all we would need is just a specimen signature, and the KYC documents are all done digitally. End to end, our onboarding can be done within 5 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
amazing. And what about NRIs?
NRIs would have to, there are some additional documents which they would need to provide, but we can, I mean, of course, we have a very efficient business development team which will handhold them through the process.
Okay, okay. There was this circular also a few days back that, investor has to be in India, or at least the immigration copy is required because it has to visit at least 3 months.
Correct.
Before 90 days is the cooling period. So all that is updated by your operation team to investor, and then you onboard the clients.
We will be on, so we are not responsible for checking the NR status. That is something.
No, not the status I am saying, but even when you onboard, let's say somebody is sitting in, say, Dubai, or somebody sitting in
That's
US.
Not a problem.
Okay, you can onboard them.
We can do it.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Wonderful. I think a lot of questions have been answered, I would say. This was something much needed, I would say, and pending from our side, that there were a lot of requests which had come from our investors and they wanted to know more about it. And as always, you have clarified everything in very, very layman language, I would say, for the benefit of our investors, because there are a lot of investors who have money, who have investing in fixed deposits, but really have no idea that how can they enhance returns by participating in funds like yours. So you're doing a fantastic job. My best wishes to entire team of Vivriti Asset Management.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks again
thank you so much,
for
Vikas.
doing
Thanks
this
for
for
the
us.
opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And this space is shaping up very well. I would urge all of you to speak to our experts team. And if you need to know anything more about it, please reach out to us and we'll give you complete details. If you wish to speak to fund manager, we'll get the call also organized. Thank you.